All right, so have you ever had one of those moments on the water, like when you're sailing towards a marker and another boat's coming in hot and you're both trying to squeeze through that tiny space?
Oh yeah, it can be like a nautical game of chicken sometimes.
Exactly. And it's even worse when you're not sure who has right of way or what the rules even say about those situations. Close calls at markers can be a sailor's worst nightmare.
Absolutely. It's like that moment when you're emerging onto a busy highway and someone cuts you off, except with wind waves and potentially a lot more damage.
No kidding. So how did World Sailing, those folks who make the rules for competitive sailing, try to make things a little bit clearer, a little bit fairer in their latest rule book?
Well, they actually did quite a bit of work on this for the 2025 to 2028 edition. In particular, they gave Rule 18, the one about Mark Room, a major makeover. And trust me, if you race, or heck, even if you just want to understand how those tactile dances happen out on the water, this deep dive is for you.
So we're talking about Rule 18 mark room. Sounds pretty specific. What's the big deal with this rule?
Well, Rule 18 is all about making it crystal clear when one boat has to give another boat space near a marker. And they didn't just tweak a few words here and there. They really rethought the whole concept of mark room.
Okay, so what did they change?
Well, one of the most interesting things is that they moved away from just thinking about the physical space at the marker. And they started focusing more on the sequence of how boats interact around that marker.
The sequence. I'm intrigued, but I'm not sure I'm following. Why is the sequence so important?
So firstly, you have to be sailing towards the marker on the correct course,
Mm.
as defined by the race. Then you have to round or pass it as required, depending on what kind of race you're doing, what the course looks like. And then finally, and this is really important, you have to fully clear the marker, meaning you're on your way to the next leg of the race without interfering with anyone else.
So it's not over until you're completely clear of the marker and on your way to the next leg.
Right. Only then can you truly say you've been given mark room.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this is more elegant than the old way. It's like a carefully choreographed dance move, not just a static position. But how does this new definition address those tricky situations that always seem to come up? Like when you've got a strong current pushing you off course as you're trying to round a marker?
That's a perfect example. Imagine you're trying to round a marker, but the current is so strong that it pushes you past the marker before you can even turn. The new definition actually protects you now. Even if you get pushed a little off course, as long as you're ultimately able to round the marker safely and complete that whole sequence, you're entitled to mark room.
So even if you get pushed off course a bit, the other boat still has to give you space to complete the maneuver.
Yes, as long as you're still able to round or pass the marker safely and get clear.
Man, I can already picture this playing out in protest hearings. It's like the rule book finally understands the real-world chaos that